In exercise 205, you're going to look at speed and fuel consumption. So speed. You're very familiar with speed. You've heard the units used to measure speed. You've heard those probably all your life. This is a 60 kilometre per hour zone. They're the units, kilometres per hour. You're probably not so familiar with the units for fuel consumption. Now, to consume something is to use it up. So we're wanting to know at what rate are we using up the fuel. The fuel is measured in litres. I'm sure you're aware of that. And so we would talk about the number of litres per kilometre you're going to be able to travel. The only problem with that is most of us want to, in real circumstances, travel more than 1 kilometre. So we don't think so much about how much fuel do I use every 1 kilometre. We want to know how much might I use if I've got to go 100 kilometres in distance. Do I have enough fuel to get to over a distance of 100 kilometres or 500 kilometres? So this is obviously a unit for measuring fuel consumption, the number of litres per kilometre. However, in reality, you're going to see it expressed probably more commonly using the units, litres per 100 kilometres. So we won't be reducing it right down to 1, or if we do, we will bring it back up to 100 kilometres. The speed is fine because we get a better understanding of a speed of 100 kilometres per hour. If you drove for 1 hour, then yeah, you know that you could cover a distance of 100 kilometres. Okay, let's have a look at some of these examples. Now, as you can see, I've done some underlining, and that's the way you would approach any worded question. Make sure you, even if you need to pause this video, do so and read this question several times until you've got a good understanding of what's going on. You can see that I've actually underlined using some different sort of lines, in that here I felt like I need to emphasize in some way that this number here represents for me distance. This number here represents the time, and this here represents the consumption, the amount of fuel, litres of fuel. So we've got 3 very different amounts in this question, and we just need to be aware of that. We don't use 3 quantities in a rate. In a rate, we just use 2. So would I possibly be using kilometres and time? Well, yes, we know kilometres and time is used in the rate that we refer to as speed. Would I be using fuel anywhere? Yes, we know that fuel and distance, or the number of litres and distance, so now this one and this one would be used or required if their question referred to fuel consumption. Let's have a look at what the question wants. Find her average speed in kilometres per hour. So yes, where are the kilometres? Here are the kilometres, measures the distance. Hours are here, and they're not written quite as nicely as we'd like them yet. So we're going to have to do some possible changing of units, maybe some converting, maybe some simplifying. So use every part of the question as a hint for how to set your working out, and how to work through the question. It says find her average speed in kilometres per hour. There is your biggest hint for how to get set up. You want kilometres per hour. So when I'm setting up my rate for speed, I want the measurement that's given in kilometres, which clearly is this one, which is 1,000. Per hour measures time. What quantity refers to time? It's this 12 hours, 25 minutes. Now this is an essential first line. We're going to work with that and think about, we want to reduce the second quantity to 1 hour. We're going to be working using the skills we've learned about simplifying a rate, because we want the second quantity to be reduced to 1. Now this one is a little bit complicated because first we have to think about our time, 12 hours, 25 minutes. In terms of hours, that is 12, 25 minutes you must write as a fraction of an hour. We know it's a fraction of an hour. It's not a full hour. It's 25 over 60. So that is a very important first step. If this is the situation, make sure you've got the number of hours written in its correct format. So, and then looking at that, that means we've got to divide by 12 and 25 on 60. To get down to 1 hour, I always divide by whatever's sitting there, 12 and 25 on 60. And you can see that I'm reducing the size, so I must reduce this one, and I won't squash it in there, but that same number would go in there. You can see it more clearly here. I've taken the 1,000, I'm going to divide it by 12 and 25 over 60. Think about why. The reason why is because I want 1 hour. Okay, you can do this on your calculator. I just want to demonstrate using the new calculator just how easy it is to do this. So you can see that I've used the fraction button to get my fraction up. You can see that I've put 1,000 into the numerator. This becomes a problem. We need to actually access this ABC facility. To do that, you press second function DE, and you can see that we've now accessed what was written here in yellow, and we're able to put in our 12 and move over, and we put in our 25 and move down and put in our 60 and move across and say we're all done. Can you please give me the answer to that? Which is that, which I think I'll go fraction to decimal, which is now that. So again, good practice is to write out the full calculated answer, and then you can then round it to whatever you like. We could have rounded it to 1 decimal place and it would have been 80.5. I've chosen to go to the nearest kilometre, and the cutting off the 5 means I round the 80 up to 81 kilometres per hour. Now again, when looking at part B, we're going to use the biggest hint, which is the wording of the question. It says find the fuel consumption in litres per 100 kilometres. I'm really focused for the first step in getting the units or the quantities in the right spot. I need so many litres and a distance, litres and distance for fuel consumption. And I get that information from the question. Where was I told something about the number of litres? That was here. And you can see I've got 52.6 litres per. But in the original data, the number of kilometres that was given that used up that much for fuel was 1,000. So I've got to say 52.6 litres for 1,000 kilometres. Now, where I'm heading on this one is to litres per 100 kilometres. So in fact, I'm not changing the units at all. I'm staying with litres. It's just I'm going from kilometres, from 1,000 kilometres to 100. Most of you will see that's a simple division by 10 to go from 1,000 down to 100. I divide here also by 10 because I'm changing the size. If you change the size on one side, you must change the size. If you're just substituting with a different unit, you're not changing the size. So divide that by 10 and you get 5. Move your decimal point back one place. So it's 5.26 litres per 100 kilometres. There's lots to note there. I'm going to stop the video. I feel that you should be writing down lots of things now in what is being emphasised here. So I'll do this example 8 in a separate video.